great silent majority.
Black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black.
Injustice, corruption, hidden power. This is Silent Majority with Foreign.
Silent majority.
The silent majority is back, and we're going to take the country back.
What's up, what's up? Welcome to the Silent Majority. I'm one of your hosts, Lukey Forbes, aka Red Hood.
There's an old name coming out, something foreign.
Yeah.
I'm your other host, Stephen Negron. Thank you for joining us today. If you noticed our shirts, you know what I'm saying? We got some fresh attire, compliments of All Street Global.
So we want to shout out to All Street Global, the good brother Kazir. They got Wall Streets.
We got All Streets. So, they got Wall Street, we got All Streets. With that said, if you are interested, you can find their apparel on allstreetglobal.com.
You can see that
and
right
definitely
there.
Check that out, because he got some fire attire that will definitely have you looking fly. So
make sure you put www dot and then this. It's all right here. Make sure you look at that. They sponsored our t-shirts today. Shout out to All Street Global. And we're going to move on with today's show. So thank you again. Like I said, welcome to the Silent Majority. So today we want to talk about what's going on currently with this case where a father is being offered a plea deal of 3.5 to 7 years in prison, where this man was literally just trying to do nothing else besides protect his family. This is a situation where the Albany Police Department failed in doing their due diligence in keeping this family safe. And this father, like all other fathers who vowed to keep their family safe, did nothing other but then try to keep his family safe. And he is now caught in a predicament where he can possibly be in takeaway from his family for 3.5 to 7 years. Again, his name is Gregory Smith. He'll be in Albany County Court tomorrow at 9:30. So we just want to be there to make sure that the family has that support. We want to make sure that the family has that support. Please fill out the survey that is circulating about this. It's called the Unjust Justice Survey. It will be shared on my Facebook at Lukey Forbes. Please make sure you guys fill out that survey. We want to get all that information.
After speaking with the family personally too, because me and you did an interview with them personally.
And that's actually going to be aired out next week. We apologize that we were unable to air that out this week because we actually had a death within our family, within the family of the protest. We'll be speaking on that later, but that will be being aired next week. The interview with the family directly.
After we're gonna show that, we're gonna edit it, clean it up a little bit. After speaking with that family, as a father, I can honestly say that I don't think Gregory Smith was out of line. I really don't think he did anything wrong. You'll see next week, but this man, they took multiple steps.
All steps.
Really exhausted the quote-unquote resources that were given to them. And they weren't given any answers. And as a father, we will protect our family. And, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So.
And this is not a case that just is point blank. This is a case where it was escalated. The family was attacked by a gang. It started off with the family just being bothered by these kids really approaching the 14-year-old son. The 14-year-old son was first approached in the malls with a pocket knife. Then he was approached as he was passing in the neighborhoods. Then after that, the family started to really be targeted as a whole, where they started to shoot paintball bullets at the household. The family actually followed that vehicle and gave license plate numbers to the police.
It turned into real bullets.
Yes, it turned into
escalated.
real bullets after that. Because after they gave those license plates to police did nothing besides tell that family to be careful that them doing things like that can cause these people to really retaliate, which they did. They did a couple of weeks prior after that situation, and they shot up the house with real bullets. And the 16-year-old girl was actually on the laptop, and a bullet zipped right past her head into that laptop and just smashed into the laptop. And the family had to deal with that. The mother was sitting there, the grandmother was sitting there making a bed. You remember she was telling us?
She started to freak out. I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. But I don't want to give too much detail. But
actually, listen to this NPR video on this. We have an NPR story that also did this, a story on this. And here we go.
Albany resident Gregory Smith is accused of accidentally shooting his 10-year-old daughter in June with an illegal weapon. But Smith's attorney, along with community activists, say mitigating factors need to be considered. Angela Kelly, an attorney with the Albany County Public Defender's Office, is representing Smith, who has been convicted of felonies, the most recent 20 years ago.
This is somebody who has reformed and rehabilitated himself since his felony conviction. So those factors should be taken into consideration in terms of his sentence.
Smith's home was the target of violence earlier this year. In May, the residence where Smith lives with his 5 children was shot with paintball pellets. Weeks later, on June 2nd, bullets were fired at the house, which Kelly says stems from a dispute between Smith's son and a group of other young residents. Without an arrest made and fearing for his family's safety, Kelly says Smith took it upon himself to protect his household, obtaining a firearm. Under state and federal law, convicted felons cannot legally purchase a gun. On June 13th, Kelly says Smith saw the same group of people who shot up his home in the neighborhood that night. That's when, according to Kelly, Smith accidentally fired an illegal handgun through a wall, striking his 10-year-old daughter. The daughter has since recovered. Following that incident and Smith's arrest, the house was targeted again on June 23rd. On Friday, Smith is due to appear in court. Kelly says the Albany County District Attorney's Office has offered a 3.5 to 7-year plea deal, but she doesn't know if her client will take the deal. If not, then the case moves to trial. Meantime, activists say the court needs to take all mitigating factors into account. They argue putting Smith in prison will be further destabilizing to his family, putting his children's lives and safety at risk. Albany activist Lukey Forbes and community organizations called a press conference Monday. Forbes, convicted for his role in an assault when he was 15, said the judge should weigh the circumstances of the case. Just as judges were given discretion when determining whether an individual could be held in jail after committing a crime prior to New York's bail reform laws that went into effect this year.
Because mitigating factors should no longer be a discretion for judges and district attorneys to consider. Those should be mandatory things that the courts consider.
Forbes was joined by groups including Vocal New York, Community Matters, All of Us, and Tom Muller from Albany House of Peace.
We're calling for the city. We're calling on community groups. We're calling on neighbors to stand up and help protect our children. And if nobody is going to do that, how are we to judge a father who takes it upon himself to protect his own family?
The Albany County District Attorney's Office said it could not comment on Smith's case at this time. The Albany Police Department says an arrest was made in the shooting of Smith's home on June 23rd. A 17-year-old allegedly connected to an Albany homicide the following day. Police said an investigation into the June 2nd shooting may soon lead to an arrest. Responding to activists' claims that the Albany Police Department failed to provide an adequate response to the violence at Gregory Smith's home, Albany Police Public Information Officer Steve Smith said the department responds to every call for service. He added, quote, "We need to work collaboratively. It can't just be the police. The community needs to share information and work collaboratively to keep the community safe," end quote. For WAMC News, I'm Lucas Willard.
So we want to thank WAMC for giving us good media like that. We want to definitely shout out our good media sources that definitely are in the streets and actually getting all the real stories.
Also, take a look at our Facebook pages. Click on the link. We're live now. You can find Lukey at Lukey Forbes. You can find me, Steven Negron. We're real easy. Real easy to find. So definitely, find our pages. Click on the link, drop a like, subscribe, share with your friends. And we definitely appreciate all the love and support. Going forward, this week, these last few days have been
extremely hard.
A significant struggle, to say the least. One of our brothers, we lost one of our brothers, and Dan, day one activist, protester, security member. I can't even really go into everything that he was, but for me personally, the first two people that I met at a protest were Lukey Forbes and Dan Prouty. So those were the first two people that I linked up with and really started to work with in these protests and in this movement. He was truly a gentle soul. Like he was as fierce in battle as he was gentle in friendship. If you get my drift.
Dan was someone that was the glue of the movement. He was the one person that, like, there are a few people, but he was the main one person that, regardless of any squirrel, any beefs, any disagreements, it didn't matter. He's just pulling up. He's trying to keep people safe. His whole morals was just like exactly where we need everybody to be. He just wanted to be an overall good person and really be genuine to everyone in every which way that approach came about.
The thing that I say about him is that he honestly just did the work. He showed up for everybody. It didn't matter what we faced. I always knew that I could count on, rely on him being there the next day. He never looked for spotlight. He never craved credit or even attention. He was always just there. And one thing that I think perfectly exemplifies this is the protest that happened on Lark Street. And I know that you had a helping hand with him.
Yeah, with the doctor who forcibly touched one of his patients on Lark Street. I did help, and Dan was the actual leading motion behind that, and he was
the one.
He didn't want
contacting everybody.
He didn't want any actual recognition for it. He was just always the guy that's like, no, I'll just do this. I don't really want to speak. I don't even think of
the majority of the people that were there
knew what happened.
Really knew that he was the one
who did that. And he would go there. He would go there even after that situation, just to make sure that the doctor wasn't back in office, regardless of what the news was saying.
He was
dedicated to the mission. He was dedicated to the cause. He was
dedicated to his friends. He was dedicated to his friends, bro. Because
just all people in general. Because
without going too deep into personal, other people's personal stuff. A friend of ours, me and Luca were literally together one day. Honestly, I think working on this show, ideas and topics and whatnot, and we got a call from Dan, and he informed us that a mutual friend of ours was burglarized, and we went, saw that the house was still open, like it wasn't locked. So me and Lukey sat there, waited for hours, and long story short, once she got back with Dan stayed in that house for 2 days, deathly allergic to cats and all, but he stayed there until our friend felt safe enough to be in her own home again. And
that's the type of person
that's a small measure of his dedication.
Everyone wanted a friend like Dan. Like everyone, when you think of a friend that will be there for you through the thick, through the end, that will literally stand in front of racists with you and yell at them even if they have weapons in their hands, that will stand with you in front of police that are there just only to throw tear gas and violence at people.
He was one of the few, well, I think there was only 3 or 4 people, you included, that were in front of that UPS 18-wheeler semi-truck.
So my relationship with Dan kind of like really sparked off that moment, because here I am standing in front of an 18-wheeler, like I'm yelling at it with a blowhorn, and he jumps in front of it to try to like push it away from me. And it's like, I know that I'm like putting myself in danger, but for you to jump in and try to put yourself in danger because you want to protect me, it's like, you don't get true loyalty like that. You don't get real people that's out here like that. And I'm not the only one that has stories with Dan risking his life to just try to help people.
You know something that was funny? I was speaking with a reporter earlier, and I think we actually have that article. We can possibly drop it soon. But before that, I was talking to an interviewer, and she was asking me about Dan's character, and I guess she had, caught a glimpse of a story, right? Where she asked me, she was like, is there an incident where, Dan jumped in front of a car? And I laughed and I said, which one? Because he did that all the time. You and me literally pulled up to the side and had to tell him, like, bro, we can't beat cars. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, in some cases, you got to pick and choose your battles,
I watched as he grew as a person, and I watched as he helped me grow as a person.
Facts. Facts.
No one's perfect.
We all have demons.
Dan he taught me that it's okay not to be perfect. That's not what you're striving for. That each day that you're just basically just trying to strive to be a better you. So we will always love and we will always miss Dan, and he will never be away from us, because his spirit will continue to watch over us and protect us as we move forward.
And we have to do our best to honor his memory, because there's 100% true that we carry a piece of him, and I know that his spirit is still here with us. I know that we have to do this shit, and pardon my French, but we have to do this. We have to push it forward. We have to bring it to fruition. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna see that. He'll see our success. He might not be here physically for it, but
in honor of Dan, I would like for everyone to just reach out to 10 of their friends and just tell them that you love them, that regardless of the situation, just check on your people.
Make sure they're good.
At all times, always checking on your people. You don't want to take life for granted. He was 26 and he passed in his sleep. Things can happen to anyone. So just make sure you check on your people. Make sure you reach out to your friends. Just check on 10 of your friends, tell them you love them, that you care for them. We want to move on in topics to something less serious, but still as serious. But still serious.
So the next topic is the Albany flag and its racist symbolism behind it. In all honesty, racist symbolism lives in American culture. Symbolism,
and we have a breakdown of it too that we'll be pulling up right here, that can really break down the actual breakdown of it. Hold on. Let's see. Tell me to keep it.
So, long story short, I'm gonna keep going my train of thought. Racism lives in American culture. It lives in our symbols, in our legal documents. It's not surprising to me racist symbolism and or disrespect to indigenous cultures lives in Albany's official flag. We know the relationship between the Pilgrims and the Iroquois Nation out here. And for those of you that are unfamiliar, the Iroquois were the indigenous people native to Manhattan Island. And I believe that they were tricked into selling their land for I don't even remember, but it was literally worthless. So with Albany's flag, based on the prince's flag of the Netherlands, which has been co-opted by far-right white supremacist groups. The flag looks like that of something similar to the apartheid South Africa era. It violates 4 of the 5 principles of good flag design set forth by the North American Vexillological Association.
It's not memorable still on the bed sheet. So like when we're looking at this flag, it violates so many different actual principles set forth by these different regulatory organizations. So we definitely do need to break down this flag and really restructure the design of what it is that we're promoting.
Well,
as far as our city,
at least for me, right? And when I look at this thing, the way that I interpret it is it's false, like it's false symbolism, right? Because if you look at this flag, it shows almost like a symbiotic, mutual beneficial relationship between what looks like to be a pilgrim and a Native American.
Mm-hmm. And then you also see the boat on top, and those boats around those times were really about trafficking slaves and things like that. So when we see symbols like that, we really have to take that into consideration as to what is it that we're really looking at here, as well as those other different breakdowns as far as what is it that we're seeing here, what is it that we're looking at, and the fact that white supremacy groups have opted portions of this flag. We really have to look at it as to what is it that we're promoting with our city when we represent our city by its flag.
Well, it's sugarcoating the truth, because if you look at this flag, it kind of like shows what is the opposite of the truth. I mean, even, you look into the center of it, and you see the what I assume to be a beaver or a woodchuck of some sort, taking down a tree. But I can't help but think that, it was the colonizer that was really destroying the environment and making animals go extinct. Like, they nearly made the buffalo go extinct. 90% of them died in a year. So we want to definitely bring to light the changing of this flag. And that brings us on to our next topic, which is basically racism as a public health crisis. Why has that not been done? It's been done in 24 other cities. 24 other cities that do not meet any of the same categories as us. We are racist as hell. When we look at it as far as the opportunities that we allow to the black community, as well as when we look at the actual segregation and the racial disparities within economics. Just recently they did a poll, and an audit just was done on our Albany Police Department that shows the amount of racial disparities there, and they still lack data to really break it down, but it still shows that our police department is extremely racist. So regardless of in 24 other cities saying, hey, racism and a problem, within our city where racism is like in its core, in our charter, the charter of our city, it literally refers to the first census that says that if black people's name is not written in italic, that they are still slaves. So that is still what our city is governed on. Now, Luke,
Albany is racist. Change that.
To add on to that point, to support it a little bit, have you taken a look at the New York State electoral map and how it turned out for the presidential election?
Yes.
So, for our viewers, New York State, we're a blue state. It will always be blue, right? Like, there's no way that we would ever be red. Now, like, that's true, but it's only true because of New York City. When you look at New York State, an electoral map, and how we turned out for the presidential election,
we're red as
our
hell.
Entire state is red. We literally have blips of blue, and those blips of blue are in New York City, Albany, Syracuse, and I think Rochester. But literally,
even within that, it's still mostly red.
But no, those are the only blips. Like, the rest of the state is red. So understand that if you were to take New York City out of that equation, we would be fucking Texas.
Yes.
And pardon my French, but we would be Texas.
Yes.
Because without New York City's blue vote and how they will always vote overwhelmingly Democratic, and yet again, you know, I'm not a buyer of the two-party system, right?
Both parties are always evil. Both parties are always evil.
100%. But I'm a progressive, so I believe that we can push for progressive Democratic candidates. Like that's not happening in the Republican Party. The Republican Party's been co-opted by white supremacists and racists. That is the umbrella that they hide under. Progressives can hide under the Democratic umbrella. We can literally take the Democratic Party and co-opt it for people's interests. And I think that's what we need to do.
And that is only until we make the Black People's Campaign Party. But
people, we need to show out.
No, really,
we need to show out to vote.
For real, though.
Because if we actually turned out to vote, and I'm talking about young people and people of color, not like you wouldn't see the entire New York State be red. Not only that, but you wouldn't see that trend across the country. Like, the one thing is that people vote, land doesn't, right? So when you look at the electoral map, the map itself is overwhelmingly red. But when you look at the numbers of people, you know, they are in the minority. Make no mistake about it. The entire Midwest, like the whole section of the Midwest has about 40 million people, which is the equivalent of California. Like, you know what I mean?
I don't want to get people confused as far as like racism being a party thing. No, racism is a person thing. Racism is a thing that is passed down through people's teachings and upbringings. Segregation just ended in 1964. So in 1964, people were told that you can't use the same bathroom as me if you're black. And this is something that only happened 56 years ago. So when we're looking at these older people, we have to really pay attention to their practices and their biases. So when we're looking at racism as a public health crisis, that means that it affects certain things. So one of those things being our criminal justice system. When we see police departments, right? One of the things that we all say about the police department is that all these cops are racist. Well, guess what? The police department knows and they don't care. Because at the end of the day, their psych evaluation does not disqualify officers from becoming cops, regardless if they have racist teachings and biases. So a cop can literally have a racist bias and they'll still get hired on and work in the black communities. That needs to change. There is no reason why they haven't come up with legislation and contract, like really design the contract to stop that. These people should not be able to become a cop if you actually have these teachings and these upbringings and these biases. You do not need to be working within a predominantly black community if you're biased against black people.
And that's one of the things that's most problematic. Because
we can't keep saying to send them out on the streets and let them learn. Because you can't send a person who's racist around black people and expect that to stop their racism. You gave them a gun, a badge, and immunity.
One of the points that you bring up that's really problematic for me is the fact that these people will have these biases and they will get planted in to black communities. So this very same person that has shown all these biases and, you know, red flags gets planted walking the beat in a neighborhood where he feels like he's surrounded by the enemy. And he treats the people as such. So, I mean, I had an incident not too long ago where, you know, the police were responding to a call and they displayed no de-escalation tactics. They weren't trying to talk to nobody. Literally, somebody went up, walked up to them and was talking to them, albeit aggressively, you know, not aggressively, but like upset, right? Like people were still very emotional off of a death, right? So emotions are running high. This officer said not one word and just responded with pepper spray. So what does that do to a crowd of people that are already in a heightened emotional state? And like, you go there looking for a problem. You go there wanting to discharge your weapon. You want people to act up because you showed up there acting up.
And again, this is something that can be stopped. When people were doing evaluations for employment, let's say I was working as a store clerk, and me working as a store clerk, if the people ask me, hey, do this evaluation so that we can see your mindset. And I say that I hate every old person, every young person, every tall person, and every short person. Do you think that they would hire me to be a store clerk? No. So why is it that we are hiring people to be officers who say that they discriminate against black people, that have this data that actually proves that? There's no reason that we should be hiring these people, because the precinct is messed up because of this hiring process that fails us. So now we have a bunch of good cops who are actually trying to do their job being clumped in with these people who should have never been hired in the first place.
We gotta keep bringing this problem to attention, unfortunately. Like, we have to continue. Like, I know, honesty, if I'm speaking frankly, it gets tiring talking about it. But the problem still exists, so we have to continuously not only address the problem, but then point out the easy solutions, like accountability.
Imagine,
like, basic accountability solves
right?
the problem.
Just imagine when people did their psych evaluations, if they showed racial biases, because you know that you're putting in a community that is predominantly black. So if they show these biases and you tell them, hey, I'm sorry, you can't be employed with us because you have these biases. And if you want to, as a contingency, why not send them to a racially biased altering class, where now these people who are racist can now learn that being a racist isn't acceptable by the police department. The police department will not accept your racism. The police department does not condone or concur your racism. Go to this racist class to teach you how not to be a racist, and then maybe come back and apply. So, like, we need to really take a stand. Racism is a public health crisis. We need to eradicate it at its fullest.
And we're going to keep bringing it up until
it happens.
Until they apply the solution that we so easily lay out for them again
every
and
week.
Again.
The Promised Land Reform Bill. Look it up.
With that said, you know what I'm saying, we got to move on to, your tweet of the week.
The tweet of the week.
I understand that you were kind of like torn between two. Which one you decided on?
So the one that we decided on is this one.
This one.
This one.
So
it's coming right now. It's coming right now. Him. Yes, there it is. So this guy, right? This guy thought it was so cool and it was so fun and dandy to announce that Florida is actually creating laws so that citizens can shoot and kill looters and rioters.
Florida's like literally one of my least favorite places. It's unfortunate because like Miami is lit, but
just Collins.
But Florida, like, I hate to, like, Charlemagne the God says it the best, like, the craziest people in the world come from the Bronx and all of Florida.
And all of Florida. like, who in their right mind? Like, this guy, I love this picture because this right here really shows the world as to what we're looking at, a twit. He's the twittiest of all twits with the twittiest twits that says the twittiest stuff.
I mean, in all honesty, if you follow his track record as a governor, I mean, yeah, he's a big old twit. He's a waste of space. Honestly, don't even understand why he still has a job.
That law right there literally announces the purge. That is a purge law. He right now is constructing laws that will enact a purge.
The thing that I find irony in it is that you passed a law that really kind of shakes up the whole concept of law and order.
Yes, because it takes away.
If you are empowering civilians to shoot
other civilians,
are we just gonna empower vigilantes as a whole?
As a whole, we might as well.
And if that is the case, if we're gonna really go and just say, all right, we're gonna empower vigilantism, is there a need for
police,
law enforcement?
Why we still have police if you're going to allow citizens
if I recall correctly, the Wild Wild West before law enforcement was there literally just operated off of vigilantes.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was like the early stages of law enforcement.
And if that's what we doing, if that's what we doing, I'm definitely about to put that bat signal out here, and I don't want to see no more cops.
All
on the
I'm
streets.
saying
We're good.
Is that's a two-way street, right?
Yeah,
Especially in a state like Florida, where stand your ground laws exist.
Florida's
so
the same.
if I'm in a neighborhood and I'm literally just walking by, minding my own business, and somebody
buying Skittles,
and somebody sees it and is opening fire on protesters, I don't know what's going on. I just see this guy shooting a gun. I'm fearful. I pull out my pistol and I shoot him dead. Am I justified in the state of Florida? Like, in all honesty, the more I think about it, that whole thing is a quagmire. And it literally opens the floodgates
to the purge.
For chaos.
The purge. Like, I'm telling you, it would just start the purge. You can't, as a politician, say that that is okay. As a leader, you can't say that that is okay. As a human being, you can't say that that is okay, because you, as a leader, is only causing straight havoc. Like you said, it will cause a chain of events that will literally end. And like, this is the same city that Zingerman was not only let go, he was given his gun back. This man goes around and he signs people guns and Skittles.
I just want to point out, right?
Florida is the home of just disrespect.
So while we see that groundwork being laid forward, I just want to point out the fact that, like, on this show, I cautioned and said how I feared, like, what Trump would do if he lost, right? And understand that there are reports now, right? Like, we've seen the statement that Mike Pompeo put forward, the Secretary of Defense. There will be a smooth transition into a second term for Donald Trump. So, while we see the groundwork in Florida being laid out, like, we also see these statements coming from high-ranking officials. We see division unfolding right before our eyes, and I pray to God it doesn't come to it. But with things like this, you really don't know what can happen. While DeSantos, I think it's DeSantis, I don't really care enough about him. Like, you know, forget him as a whole person. But I also want to bring light to this other issue, though, because toll booth workers were recently laid off in New York State.
Yes.
Rather abruptly. There have been kind of messaging for drivers to get an easy pass, but there really wasn't any date pushed or date put out there for people to really prepare for this.
Well, guess what? Tomorrow night is your big night, because you'll be getting a ticket in the mail. And not only did they fire off employees, state employees, New York State employees that actually was getting paid from $13 to $24 an hour.
The average salary was $13.63 to $24.35.
And those are real good paying jobs that are no longer going to New York citizens. Now what's going to happen is that there are going to be machines that actually take your license plate and send you tickets to your household
with surcharges attached to it.
Now,
so you're not paying just that 35-cent toll. You're paying additional fees because they had to mail and send you a ticket.
The question is, if it is cheaper for the New York citizen to travel, because we're supposed to have freedom of travel in America, and that is a constitutional right. Freedom. That means when I want to go, I can go. That means if it's there, if it's the ability for me to travel there, I should be able to do it for free. Freedom of travel. So you're charging American citizens more to use a system that costs you spend no actual funding on people that you used to spend $13 to $24 on, keeping them in place, employed. Now that is gone, and you're only keeping up with one system that only has update fees and a fee to debug every now and then.
It's actually concerning, only because we're still in the middle of a pandemic.
You're taking all these people's money. You're not giving them an opportunity.
We're still dealing with people who are unemployed. There are still people that are furloughed, and people aren't getting those unemployment benefits anymore. So it's not like these people are getting laid off and can expect or look forward to that $600 cushion. No, they're just losing their job.
But look at what they are doing, because all of the jobs are going towards software development and engineering. However, they're only talking about putting prisons into school. Like, they're teaching kids about becoming police officers, firefighters, and more of these laborers, instead of pushing tech onto our kids. Like, why is it that they're not teaching coding in every single school to first graders? Why are these kids not learning what the world is moving towards? Why are you teaching them how to be a cop and take tests? Because our schooling system only teaches kids how to take tests.
So, I feel like a lot of these things
intertwine.
Well, a lot of these things are things that are like, we've talked about it. We're gonna continue to talk about it. I feel, unfortunately, only because I've said it once tonight already. You know, the problem still exists, so we still have to bring attention to it, right? Mm-hmm. I want to move forward. Did you have an education piece this week?
Yes.
All right, so I'm gonna do my quote, and we'll move on to the education piece. I picked a quote this week that I felt truly embodied my fallen brother, Dan Prouty. I forgot to write down who wrote the quote, so all I'm gonna say is that this is not mine. Life isn't about getting and having, it's about giving and being. And the one thing that I would say about my brother Dan Prouty was that he always gave, and as far as being, he was always there. So he never looked to get anything from anybody. He was truly a selfless human being. He was the best amongst us. He was a man amongst men. His morals, his convictions, his moral code. You know, I don't think that we will be blessed enough to meet too many more people like Dan Prouty, and the world is definitely a little darker without him.
I'm glad that people now are able to understand who he was. On Facebook, he kind of he went by Dan Harris on Facebook. For those of you who didn't know, he was always not trying to be in the limelight, always trying to stand away, but he was great.
He was always in the fray, though.
He was great.
He wasn't in the limelight, but he was always in the fray. He was always in the mix.
People need to know his name, and they need to know his real name. They need to know who he was. They need to know that that they lost someone too. Like, you lost someone. If I don't care who you are, if you're watching this right now, I'm talking to you. You lost someone that was willing to put his life on the line for change, for you and your future.
I don't feel, honestly, we still have to continue to do the work. We still have to do what we have been doing. But I do not, I can say right now that I just don't feel as secure. There would be times in the movement where you and me would lead chants, we would speak, and there was a confidence that I had in knowing that, he was
there.
He was leading security. He was on top of it, and I didn't have to worry about that while I was leading a chant. I didn't have to keep my head on the swivel because I had the utmost confidence in knowing that he had my six.
It's so sad because I was literally telling somebody I used to be valid if I couldn't make it somewhere because I knew he was there. Just knowing that he was there, I knew that
it gave you peace of mind.
It was valid. We got people on the ground. We got people that's actually on the ground.
We got people like him.
And it's
people like him.
The one time I got into an argument with him at a protest is because I was asking him to go over somewhere else, and he was telling me I can't go because I got to make sure that they're safe. And once he said that to me, I had to look back behind me you know what, you're right, I'm wrong. He
prioritized protesters. He prioritized people's safety like nobody else in this movement. And I speak for myself. He truly he took care of other people more than he did himself. I figure we can do your education piece, and then we can close out with
So my educational piece is going to be on the underlying cause of everything that we kind of talked about today. It's the thing that kind of keeps everything going. This is what keeps racism alive. This is what keeps oppression alive. This is what keeps the hardship on the black and brown community alive. They lie to you and tell you that the 13th Amendment abolished slavery. The 13th Amendment did not abolish slavery. The 13th Amendment renamed slavery. The 13th Amendment is the thing that created involuntary servitude, which prison industries now thrive off of. Involuntary servitude is when you force someone into working for indigenous services. Indigenous services are
as a result of punishment.
As a result of punishment. Indigenous services means limited to no pay. So what you're seeing right now is these inner cities are literally just pockets of breeding grounds where they take out these opportunities and they flood it with drugs and guns, and they allow crime to take place. So when this crime takes place, they send the police and they over-police these communities to snatch people up and label them criminals. I'm doing the quote-unquote air quotes. They label them criminals in order to put them inside of prisons, where they have these inmates make hand sanitizer by the gallons, where they're working as chemists. They just now recently raised that pay to 65 cents, which is still a slap in the face for actual chemist pay. And then they also have these people work as engineers, where they're making missile navigational systems for the military. These people make every single last license plate. There is not one license plate that's not made in the prison industry. And that is a whole state job that is only solely done in the prison industry so that they do not have to pay people actual funding.
The biggest lie
the benefits and the actual taxes on that.
The biggest lie the Republican Party told you was that the immigrant was stealing the American workers' manufacturing job. The immigrant isn't taking the American's manufacturing job. Your manufacturing job was transported or was given to an inmate. Mm-hmm. Immigrants come here and take jobs that Americans do not apply for. There aren't any Americans that are applying to work on a farm and pick produce and do all types of work, because at the end of the day, it was shown in an economic study that like our agriculture business literally depends on illegal immigration because they need cheap labor. And that is inhumane to begin with, in all honesty. Like, I don't really like illegal immigration is a different type of debate. But the illegal immigrant isn't stealing your job. They're giving it to the inmate.
Yes.
So
even look at
just
Albany.
walk away with
Let's look at Albany. They're about to put the lights up. These lights are being put up by inmates. I post a sponsorship list of all the people that sponsor these lights. Now these are the same lights every year. They have not bought a new light yet they continue to put up funding, because this funding goes to the owners of these inmates. The owners of these people that are doing the actual labor. They're paying for this labor to be done by these inmates. And then they're only putting up the lights again in order to entice the city to think that these people are literally caring about your community. No, this is not crime. It's not a crime thing. Crime was created within our cities because, again, they could solve it by offering more employment opportunities, because people are more likely to not commit a crime if they have something to look forward to. They could offer more educational opportunities within the cities. They could offer more community centers. And again, this is the same thing that the community is saying that they need in order to actually change. It's a reason why in the white communities there are less police. It's crazy how when there are less police, there are less crime within these areas. And what we're seeing here is literally these inner cities are the breeding grounds. The only people that benefit off of the law enforcement industry is people who are working for or investing in the law enforcement industry. Other than that, you do not benefit off of people getting convicted and sent to prison to work for free so that the state could continue to receive funding. Because what they don't show you is that not only is your taxpayer going so that this inmate stays in prison, that the jail also receives a check from this company to have this inmate work. So the jail gets paid twice. It gets paid twice by not only me, but it also gets paid by the company that contracts them to make things.
Yeah, they get paid,
like J.C. Penney.
They get paid for the body for the body in the bed, and they get paid with the free labor. So
slavery never was abolished. Is basically all it was about.
It changed and adapted.
We're still slaves today.
This show definitely ran a lot longer than I intended. I intended for it to be kind of like a short show, but it definitely kind of like ran into a regular time show. Before we go, we send you off with some images of our dear friend Dan Prouty. I want to plug in allstreetglobal.com one last time. Definitely check out their site and check out their gear. I also want to thank Imprint Universe and our good friend Musa, who is behind in productions, and we couldn't do this without you. So definitely want to plug in the support. I mean, definitely, look at the production, look at the attire. Mm-hmm. We out here, we're doing it. We appreciate the love and the support. So definitely want to plug them in, and we're gonna leave you with some images of our dear brother Dan Prouty. You'll never be forgotten, and we hold you forever in our memories and our hearts.
Can't breathe! I can't breathe! I can't sleep! I can't sleep! Get involved! Make change fucking happen! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
If I said you to you, you would interpret that as I am classifying the entire black community. You are classifying the entire police community, and that's just as wrong.
Somebody should teach him and explain all these reasons. Something they need to explain, but they not seeing clearly. I don't want you to fear me, I just want you to hear me.
But we also know that it is systems that we have to break. It is systems.
And you see that all around the world right now. America is burning.
That's tear gas, that's tear gas, that's tear gas. Yo, rock! Rock!
To find out how I am designed. That's geometry and we are seeking the lack of knowledge, but we are too ignorant and blindness with these.
Yo,
God is not an illusion. I'm not politically correct, so they don't listen to us. See, I give him an incentive, but don't trust my talk of a foot. You see, I don't give him an inch. That means I don't play by the book. Just like Katie with danger romance. I feel like I'm going to a distant land. I'm flying high with the wings. I swear.
I'm a son of Southers, let's pray for them. They tore from us, like all amongst us. Unique others, we all brothers. Respect on this, they died for us. I am the root to this truth and the abuse of others. I mean it's typical, atypical, they made it mystical. I move around and make more money throughout the fiscal. They make more money so they can destroy your physical. Listen to the lyrics.
Yo, you guys gotta run, that's tear gas right there.
I sight like crystal ball. You see it cause they blind. And speaking on this premise is debated line for line. Embrace this, faceless, love it all races. Travel through multiple lands and all different types of spaces. And racist faces, dangerous places. Even with a talks I'm hated. You can't see what's real through all this fake shit. It's not gold displayed. Stated, dated, glad I made it. And every day we trust. How much more of lust? How much more of lust? How much more disgusting? You say what? I say don't. They shooting shots at Romeo. Ever since benevolence, people growing militant. Shells get spent, I represent. Never ever hesitant. People falling victim to a system that imprisons them at every turn. So your dream, what you can be, true destiny. Time you learn that we are we, and he is he, she is she, and I'm me.
Let's go.
And I'm mad.
You're just not gonna stop until there's a change, man.